Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so she wasn't on the presenters list. Just wanted to make sure that we get a chance to acknowledge her somewhere during the PowerPoint.
I gotcha. Okay.
And then we are ready when you are, Kit.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We have a couple presentations, it looks like, and legal action also. Bobby, is that correct that I'm reading here? We have them here today?
Yes, it is. They're the only presentation. They just got a couple of forms that she would like for us to go to the slide to identify for people as resources.
Very good. Okay. Is Kelly with us yet?
Yes, she is.
I'm here.
All right. Kelly, would you like to introduce yourself and welcome?
Thank you. Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Kelly O'Neill. I am the new Near West Side Community Prosecutor. So if you were formerly familiar with Jessica Ballinger or Caitlin Ringersma, I am the new person in that position. I hope that I will be working with you for the long term, and I am excited to be here. This will be my first landlord compact meeting, so I am interested in kind of seeing how this process works, learning what you guys do all together, and I am here for you guys if anyone needs anything.
Great. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Do we have Brittany?
Hi.
Hi there. How are you?
Good. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Shanick. I am one of 2 staff attorneys in the Community Law Project at Legal Action of Wisconsin. So Keith and Bobby and Dwayne asked if I would join and just provide sort of a real brief update on the status of the CDC eviction moratorium. So I'm sure lots of folks know that that moratorium has now been extended to June 30th. So it's set to expire July 1st. And so for tenants that qualify, they would just fill out the CDC declaration, either give it to their landlord or to the court if there's an action that's already been filed. Folks can still apply for rent assistance via community advocates by either calling their rent helpline or by filling out an application online. They're generally required to provide some sort of proof of income reduction. One thing that I would suggest for landlords is making sure that your tenants do have all of your contact information. So email, name, phone number, so that they can complete that application as soon as possible. Other than that, I don't have any other updates unless folks have questions.
Yeah, Brittany, I do have a question. There was a judge that struck down the legality of the eviction moratorium about a week ago. Does that have any bearing on the state of Wisconsin at the moment?
That's a great question, Bobby. So sure, I know a lot of folks may be familiar with that DC circuit decision. That decision has been stayed. And so it doesn't have any effect on anything happening in Milwaukee County or the state of Wisconsin at this time.
Okay, the next question that I have is that if I'm correct, the landlords would deal with community advocates for reimbursement for rents not paid. And if that's the case, how has that process gone? Has there been many landlords complaining about it?
I'm not sure, since I mostly deal with tenants.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure. I would reach out to community advocates if you do have an outstanding question about, where the rent payment is, or if you've seen a contract, come your way and you have any questions about payments, things like that. But unfortunately, I really only deal with the tenant side. So I can't speak too much about the inner workings of what goes on at community advocates.
Okay, the final question I have for you, and it is the final one. Is it possible that you could talk a little bit about the new rent center?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Bobby. I'm sorry.
Okay, it was well, all right. I'll say that for community advocates then.
Okay.
Okay. It's supposed to be like the one-stop shop for landlords and tenants to try to handle evictions and mediation and all of that.
Yeah, so there is a website that is live. It's renthelpmke.com or .org. I think I shared it in the chat when I was here at the March meeting last. Is that what you're talking about, where folks can look for resources, landlords and tenants can look for resources?
Yes, I think that, yes.
Yep, I can share that in the chat too right now if you'd like.
I think Lindsay just shared it. And I can let you know, Bobby, if you have further questions offline, I actually was on the Eviction Prevention Coalition that worked together to come up with that website and then to form it and to come together as a group and make it happen. So if you have any questions kind of on the process behind that, let me know later on and we can talk.
Thank you. All right.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, I guess we're ready for the nuisance properties. Then
Well,
slide.
the next couple slides may be resource sites that that Brittany provided previously. So we can
Okay.
go through those really quickly.
Okay,
I'm not seeing this slide. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Elizabeth.
hour.
Yeah, so these are some of the tenant resources that I shared last time I was here back in March, and these are also all available on the renthelpmke.org website as well.
Mhm.
Okay, wonderful. Look what she's doing.
And yep, and as always, guys, we encourage people to still follow the COVID steps to help slow the COVID and get vaccinated if it's possible. And if you have any concerns, there are websites that you can go to, the CDD mainly, to provide answers to your questions if you're concerned about the vaccinations.
All right,
Kip.
okay. We're going to be a little out of order going through this, so bear with me. MPD, because of internet here, my screen might be a little slower than yours. So I will find the address here and say it, and then ask for calls for service, just like I'll do for DNS. So let's get to the first property here. Barada property. First of all, is anybody here from Barada? Noah's here for Barada today. 2836 West Wells Street, calls for service.
2836 West Wells, we do not have any nuisanceable offenses.
DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
Okay, next property. 2820 West Wells Street.
For 2820 West Wells, we have 1 fight, 3 troublous subjects, and 1 threat for a total of 5 nuisanceable calls.
DNS?
We have interior orders.
Okay, great, thank you. Next property. 3017 West Highland, calls for service.
For 3017, we have 1 troublous subject for a total of 1 nuisanceable offense.
DNS?
Nothing for DNS.
All right. Next property. 731 North 25th Street.
For 731 North 25th Street, we have a noise nuisance for a total of 1 nuisanceable offense.
Bear with me here a second. Oh, it's on the second page, sorry. Can you repeat that, MPD? I'm sorry.
We had a noise nuisance for one nuisanceable offense.
DNS,
For that one, we have a bunch of stuff from interiors that are being referred to court.
John, when you say being referred to court, is that an indication that the time that they were allowed to fix it lapsed?
Right, correct.
okay. Now, 731 is still a Barada property, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Wait, all right, I apologize. Are we on 730 North 29th?
Okay.
we're looking at, yeah, 731 North 25th.
Okay, then I take that back. I apologize.
That's okay.
So they just have interior orders for that property.
Got it. Thank you. Next property. All right, Concordia Palm Tree, 2848 West Wisconsin. Calls for service.
All right, we have a battery, 2 troublous subjects, a subject with gun, and a threat for a total of 5 nuisanceable offenses.
All right. DNS.
For this one, it's the interior court referred.
Referred interior. Okay, next property. 730 North 29th, calls for service.
We have 1 troublous subject for a total of 1 nuisanceable offense.
DNS.
Interior court referred.
All right, next property.
MPD, can I ask a question about the Concordia Palm Tree? Are you guys in contact with management or ownership there? To maybe address some of the nuisance calls?
We haven't been, but we can get in contact with them. I'll take a note and then just reach out to them. Which
Okay.
address are you looking at specifically, the 2848?
Yeah, the 2848, the one that had the 5 nuisanceable offenses this month.
Okay,
I can't
I'll
remember
reach out.
offhand last month, but I think they had 3 last month.
okay.
They had a fight, a threat, call for police.
Okay, I'll reach out to them.
Thank you. Next property. Anybody here for Jamila today?
Hi, good afternoon. Attorney Gary Cook. I'm here. Kayla unfortunately couldn't make it. She got called away at for an emergency. I'm taking notes and I can get those to her and she'll respond to anything that needs responding to.
Thank you very much, Gary. All right, 835 North 23rd Street, calls for service.
We have 2 troublous subjects for a total of 2 nuisanceable offenses.
And DNS.
Interior orders.
Okay, thank you. Next property. 3345 West Highland Boulevard, calls for service.
For 3345, we have 1 911 abuse and 1 troublous subject for a total of 2 nuisanceable offenses.
DNS.
Interior orders.
Next property. 2803 West Kilbourne, calls for
Yeah.
service.
A total of 1 nuisanceable offense, which was a noise nuisance.
Nothing
DNS.
from DNS.
Thank you. Next property. 3104 West Wells Street, calls for service.
We have 0 for that location.
DNS?
Interior and fire.
Okay, thank you. Next property. 1143 North 29th Street.
We had a trouble with subject, a battery, an entry, and a threat for a total of 4 nuisanceable calls.
DNS has interior orders.
What's my notes on? Well, let's do the next one, and then I'll say this. Next property. 2920 West Highland Boulevard, calls for service.
We have 0 nuisanceable calls at 2920 West Highland.
DNS.
We have interior and sprinkler.
So MPD, in our pre-meeting, it was discussed that 1143 North 29th Street, well, 2920 West Highland through the back door to 1143 North 29th Street, that there was a report of prostitution and drug dealing going on between those two locations. All right.
Can I have a quick question then? Gary, this is Bobby McQuaid from Midwest Side Partners, Safety and Outreach Manager.
Yes, hi, Bobby.
Hi, Kayla has referred that she has been working with MPD, and I'd like to know, has a plan been put forth as to how Jamila will begin to identify and deal with some of the trouble places that they have? I'm sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yep, I heard you.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was still on mute. I will certainly bring those questions to Kayla. I don't really handle too much of that part of what's going on with the property management company. But I have been sitting in these meetings for quite some time, and I've noticed that the trend of calls has gone down significantly. So while I can't speak to any sort of specific knowledge, I just kind of from a outsider's perspective look at this and see that there has been some progress here. So I'm sure Kayla is continuing to work with the MTPD on resolving these issues.
Yeah, Gary, I will acknowledge that some cost for services in some of the buildings have went down tremendously, and that is good. But she did acknowledge that they were working with MPD, and I was just wondering if a plan was made to submit the board so that we would know and what they plan on doing going forward. And I understand that you don't have that information at this point. But I believe it was it in between landlord compact meetings where there was someone that either OD'd or died at the 823 address, 835 North 23rd address?
If you're asking me, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, and I concur that over the last several months here, the calls for service are trending downwards. I do want to remind everybody, it is only May. We have not hit our warm months, and we know what that brings from past history, that when June, July, and August get here is when we usually see a major uptick in issues and calls for service. So Gary, just to let you know, we do look at all the properties and the trends. Sometimes properties with a long history, in knowing that it's this time of year, we tend to just stay on top of that and be proactive than dropping them off a list and then not knowing on a month-to-month basis on what's happening. And then all of a sudden we've got a major issue because we're not following it. So that's really the only reason why some of these properties maintain the list so that we can just monitor it on a month-to-month basis. If you follow what I mean.
I do follow. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome, Gary. And like I said, we are very happy about the trending down. That is our goal and the point of having these meetings on a monthly basis. Next property.
Could I ask one question, Kent, for
Yeah.
DNS regarding the 2920 West Highland Boulevard property? Is the current order, DNS order, is that from 2018? Is that what I'm seeing?
If you give me a moment, I'll check real quick here.
I guess if it is, my question would be why is it still outstanding?
Could we maybe move on to the next property in the interest of time and come back to that once John
We
has?
got lots of time.
You can get back to me. It's no rush.
Well, I actually just got it right now. Apologize. Where I actually showed from a couple of years back. So we have it from 2021, 2020, and 2019.
Thank you.
All right. Next property. Smart Assets. Do we have anybody here from Smart Assets? 2809 West Highland Boulevard, calls for service.
We had a trouble with subject for a total of 1 nuisanceable offense.
Nothing from DNS.
Thank you. Next property. 3120, 3128 West Wisconsin Avenue, calls for service.
3120 West Wisconsin had a threat, a subject with weapon, and a 911 abuse for a total of 3. And 3128 West Wisconsin have had a trouble with subject and a theft for a total of 2.
John?
For 3120, we have interior and the elevator. And then for 3128, we have interior.
Perfect, thank you. Next property. 2448 West Kilbourne, calls for service.
For 2448 West Kilbourne, we had 1 trouble with subject and 1 threat for a total of 2 nuisanceable offenses.
For 2448, DNS has fire inspection orders.
Okay, thank you. Next property. All right, so we took care of Smart Assets. Now we're okay. 2501 West Kilbourne Avenue, calls for service.
2501 West Kilbourne had 0 nuisanceable offenses.
DNS.
Nothing from DNS.
Hey, could you go to the next picture, Elizabeth? Hey, John, we had put this into the service, and we also sent it to you in the email about this. This has been out here for at least going on 2 weeks now. We want to know what would be the next action with this. Nobody's picked it up, or nobody's came even to collect the garbage. And I believe he collects his own garbage, because I know Anderson has a garbage truck, so.
Yeah, and then we actually, was it this Saturday? Last Saturday. Last Saturday, we had a cleanup, right? The dumpster was sitting right on the corner, and they knew about the cleanup, and they still didn't have someone come and throw the big material over into the dumpster.
Yeah,
Okay,
let me look into this and then I'll touch base with you guys.
Yeah, I also, this is Barb Scotty, I reported it Saturday morning onto the action thing and got a confirmation it was reported.
okay. All right, thank you.
I'd just
Next
like to ask a question to, excuse me, Ken, just like to ask MPD, is that still an active homicide or is that closed?
When you say closed, what do you mean? Like, has there been charges on a guy? Or what are you exactly asking?
Are they still investigating it? Bob wants to know.
I haven't heard about it being closed, so I'm gonna say yes, it is still being investigated. I can definitely get back to you via email with that answer, but as of right now, I'm gonna say yes, it is still being investigated. Either way, we as police officers, not at the Detective Bureau, we don't have access to see those reports. So I can't even look up a supplement report saying if it's open or closed, but I can definitely find that answer and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next property. $2743 West Highland, calls for service.
We had a total of 1 nuisanceable offense, which was an armed robbery.
DNS.
Nothing from DNS.
Okay,
I
next
just,
property.
I wanted to state too, the building next to it, the owner of the building next to it, which is Miss Jerry Roberts, she causes with multiple complaints of people throwing things out of the side window. As you can see to the right, it's like a little pathway there, and they throw different garbage and stuff outside the window. And she says she has reported it multiple times to the city. Nothing has been done for the most part. She even had her maintenance clean it up before, and it's still. She says she still gets the same thing, and she also has been seeing prostitution coming from out that building.
Do we have anybody here from Our Safe Place?
So one thing I should mention, even though we don't have anything in DNS says there's nothing, that doesn't necessarily mean that the city hasn't come out. At least for this year, I'm showing the city has come out 2 to 3 times regarding trash, but there's nothing current. That's part of the reason why when I say there's nothing, that just means there's nothing current in the system.
All right.
Hello, yes, I'm, this is Larry List from 2743 West Highland. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, the people just come through the alley and dump their stuff. It's constant. We have increased our pickup to 2 times a week now with our service, and but still, we have cameras. We're trying to catch these people. It's just a dumping ground in that alley.
What do you?
So,
were you ever made aware, Larry, of the report from a neighbor about people from the building throwing garbage out the windows?
which side?
That would be the left side.
Hmm?
The left side is.
Sorry, my connection is poor, but which side?
Left. The west side of the building.
Hello?
Well, are you sure?
The west side, yes, I know who that, yeah, we west side is Smart Asset, and I'm very aware of what happened. We had a loony threw her garbage out the window
East side.
in the wintertime.
I'm sorry, Larry. It's actually
I'm very aware of what happened.
Mr. List, it's actually the east side of the building.
Jerry Robinson is
East
gone.
side.
Yeah,
Jerry Robinson is
Jerry
gone.
Robinson.
East side, Oh, yeah, Jerry. You know, Jerry is very, what would I say? Kind of very conscientious, which is good. And, you know, if there's a napkin out there, she'll call. So that side,
Okay,
we
but-
make sure we keep it pristine.
Okay, all right. Mr. Listo, my question was, did anybody make you aware that people in your building were throwing things out the window?
Yes, not on Jerry's side, but on the other side.
Okay, okay. All right.
On Jerry's side, you know, no one made it aware. Maybe someone told my son about it, but
Okay,
I haven't spoken to Jerry about anything. And if
right.
if Jerry does call, I make sure I try to find out. Can you tell me which window so we can address that tenant?
Okay, that sounds good.
For throwing her garbage out.
Okay, that sounds
Okay.
good. I appreciate that, Larry.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Next property,
You're welcome.
2327 West Michigan, calls for service.
For 2327 West Michigan, we had a total of 1 nuisance offense, which was a threat.
Nothing from DNS.
Thank you. Next property,
I have a question quick.
yes.
We own that property, but we also own another one that we at both at Michigan and at this other property, we installed some nicer cameras to kind of watch for junk dumpers. But
Okay.
on 2804 West Kilbourne, we put in some pretty nice cameras as well. But we were also told that somebody might be able to get us in contact with someone from the city to put a nice camera on a pole. And I forgot who that was. Does anybody here ever heard of that as a possibility, so that we can kind of see what's going on the street? Especially Kilbourne's kind of an interesting street to keep an eye on.
They're supposed to be doing cameras in the Concordia Block Club, but it's federal grant. And that's supposed to be coming out. Mayor Barrett said it's supposed to be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay. Will they be able to put someone? Or that'll just
there's like six or seven community groups that got cameras that are going to go into their neighborhood on poles. And that's to the city. So you might want to get a hold of who's ever in charge of Concordia Neighborhood Association and find out. They can let you know when the camera's going to go up or where they're going to be.
Okay, I'll check into that.
Can I ask who this is?
Sam from S2 Real Estate.
Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good.
Good. Can you reach out to whoever at the 605 North 23rd location, around the dumpster and in the weeds and overgrowth there? It's getting pretty gnarly as far as trash.
Yeah, we have a crew going around. The guys from last year quit, so
oh, great.
so we got a little bit behind, but we got a new crew started, and yeah, they been having to dig through. It's amazing how much people throw in the the snow covers and stuff. So that's
I hear
half their day they're digging out trash.
Sure. All right, Sam.
Sure, we'll get to that this week.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Did we do 2936? How come? Nope. 2936 West Kilbourne. Calls for service.
Sorry, we have 0 nuisance offenses for that address.
DNS.
Interior orders.
Okay. Next property. (3205) West Juneau, calls for service.
We have 0 nuisance calls.
That shouldn't be right. This was actually put on by Savannah. Savannah lives in the house next to there, and she said she's called the police multiple times for the things that was going on in that house. She complained about the noise, a noise complaint before with them arguing and fighting. out in front and out in the back of the house, and having multiple people coming in and out of the alleyway and from the front door, which it seems to be drug deals that's coming from 1143, which is up the street from there.
So depending on when she called those in, it might have been before that, because I ran this from our last meeting to yesterday. But also if she's calling them in and people are going out, like cops are going out there, but they're not substantiated, they're not nuisanceable calls. So I'm not saying there was 0 calls at that address. I'm saying that there was no nuisanceable calls at that address.
Okay.
Got it. DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
Okay, thank you. Next property? Oh. So 2835 West Kilbourne wasn't on there?
No, we took that off.
Oh. Okay, I'll discuss that later with y'all. All right. Any other properties we need to put on the list and discuss for next month, as long as we're at the nuisance property? Anybody out there? Okay.
For the 2835 West Kilbourne, I did end up having it on my list. And there was 0 nuisanceable calls for that address.
Perfect.
I do have a property, this is Lindsay, that I would like to add for next month, and I'll pop that into the chat.
Thank you. All right, let's get to the businesses. We'll start off with Family Dollar, 930 North 27th Street, calls for service.
All right, so 930 North 27th Street, there was a battery and then 2 troubled subjects for a total of 3 nuisanceable calls.
Anybody here from Family Dollar? Okay.
Yeah, Kent, this is Danelle Gordon. I'm here.
Oh, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
The only update I have, I know there was some damage at the front of the building that we did have repaired right below the roll down gates. But other than that, we met with MPD and some others last week on Wednesday and did some walkthroughs in some of the locations. But other than that, I don't have too much to update.
The car that's sitting right there now with the guy that's selling T-shirts and the security guard sitting right inside the store. That's not, you can't do that.
Right.
And that's daily. I took the picture and they're out there drinking. This, you see the picture right there. That's what they do on a daily basis. And the security guard is standing right inside the door and not saying nothing to him.
Or he be out there talking with him.
And I mean, that's blocking the driveway right there. And that's customers that have to come in and out. But like I said, this is a daily thing.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll address that for sure with the guard company and also with our management in that building.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Next property. Care Bears, 927 North 27th Street, calls for service.
We had a total of 1, which was a battery.
DNS.
We have fire inspection orders.
All right. Next property.
And 903 had 0 nuisanceable calls.
2903. Okay, 0. DNS.
Nothing from DNS.
Consistent drug dealing going on outside that building daily.
I agree.
I was just going to ask Bobby, what are we seeing?
Well, we're still in contact with the owner. He does have the cameras. The gentlemen do frequent outside a couple houses down, around the corner. He does as much as he can. He contacted me about a concern earlier late last month about having to go out and address people across the street from the business. He really doesn't feel like, he's prepared to do that. But, when he moves them from in front of his place, they are still lingering around the four corners.
Right.
And we have got numerous complaints from community residents. So it's one of those situations where we believe that the owner is trying, and he's definitely willing to work with MPD and does work with the bike officers that stop over. He do contact us frequently. However, I think it's going to have to be more done on that block in that area. There is a pocket park that's probably going to be active this summer right across the street.
Right. Well, we're going to have to sit down and discuss and talk to whoever will be able to help out here, and either heavier patrol or something to figure out what's happening and how we can get this.
He needs security. He needs security that sits. He needs some type of security.
Well, what about, okay, so they kick them off their corner, but they go across the street. What should security do then?
I haven't seen, I have not seen him come out and kick anybody off from in front. The people who are standing across the street or in the street, shooting dice, selling drugs out of the door, out of the cars, and drinking.
All right, the only way that
this is like 19th and State. When 19th and State had the same problem going on, people drinking, shooting dice, hanging out, selling dope. They took the liquor license. When they took the liquor license, they had no more problems. Now look at 19th and State now. You don't have any problems over there. Now the problems are here.
Okay, so none of that has ever been reported, or because there's no calls for service at that address. So MPD's hands are tied if there's no calls.
I could call every day that I go by there, but I'm not going to waste officers' time. By the time the police show up,
well, then
they got other important things to do than dudes hanging out. That should be a special squad that goes through there daily and checks these kids.
Yep. Well,
that's not something to call non-emergency for. That's something for a special squad to go through there and check them.
I just like to add to what Luke is saying. I think whatever kind of special squad will have to kind of sit on it for a little bit to kind of see it.
Yeah, they would.
Well, then we've got to figure out how we can get that to happen and ask for help from MPD.
Yeah.
Can I jump in really quick? It would also be something to reach out, and if MPD doesn't know about it, if they're not getting reports of the details and where it's occurring and what's happening, then, I mean, Kent is right. No one's going to be able to follow up. We have cars that work on drug issues. We have our specialty teams, but if they don't have the information to start off an investigation, then nothing's going to happen. If someone wants to reach out and kind of relay some of the stuff you're saying, the times you're seeing things, what behaviors you're witnessing, it sounds like the store is trying, and you're really saying stuff is happening across the street or in the street. That's really important to relay what location it's happening at, what you're seeing, when it's occurring, and then the team can make sure the proper squads are notified and try to follow up.
And with that, thank you, Kelly. And with that, almost the same thing has to happen on 27th in Kilbourne. I mean, we have prostitution going on. I know there's some drug dealing happening. We got a lot of public drinking. So, Bobby, I'm thinking we're going to have to put together some type of, presentation with Lucas and the ambassadors, and get descriptions and times, and get this to Kelly. Can we get this information to you?
You can get stuff to me, and we'll reach out to the team. Now, of course, if you're seeing active things going on that are raising your concern for people's safety, you still need to call that in. And in terms of nuisancing a location, Ken, you're exactly right. And that's why the officers are saying the countable calls. For nuisancing things, we would need actual calls for service. When it's a drug investigation or investigations into behavior, officers can do follow-up there. So if you get me that information, we can disseminate it to the proper officers to do follow-up. But it's kind of two different things we're discussing here. I just want to be clear.
Well, the person that's running all the 27th and Kilbourne, Wells, and State Street, his name is Big Lord. He's been a ringleader. He's been a thorn in the side out here for years. He goes in and out of 2803 on Kilbourne. There's been multiple police chases with him. We recovered like numerous guns, firearms from the apartments that he is associated with and cars. I do security for Habitat for Humanity. There was a huge police chase. He bailed out of the car and they got like 5 weapons out of it like 3 years ago. They couldn't put him on it, but he was driving the car. This guy's he's just a menace. I mean, we had like 3 homicides on Wells Street in Kilbourne and he was associated with it, but they just couldn't put him up now.
I'm gonna pop in here as a resident who goes down Kilbourne and walks around. I avoid 27th Street because it's so freaking scary. I'm not gonna walk down that street and try and report people. I go down the alley, I look at things, I try and take pictures, but you know, I'm kind of tied that I don't have the ability. You just can't take pictures and write crap down and then kind of call it. It's very frustrating process.
Yeah. Now we'll get through the rest of the properties here. And then I've got a question in regards to, and I think we touched on this. And Kelly, you might have mentioned something about 27th Street businesses having a meeting, getting together.
Yes.
Yes. Did that happen?
Yes.
Or about,
and I'll let Kelly could talk about it at the end of our PowerPoint kit.
okay. All right, let's get to the next property. Thanks, Barb. I want to get you a gun, Barb. 959 North 27th Street.
They had a total of 1 nuisanceable offense, which was a threat.
DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
What about that board on the window that's been there for like forever?
We actually still working with them with a grant we had got from a person in the community. Well, it's a how you say it, Bob? I can't
It's a reimbursement. However, we were informed, Keith and I were informed about a week ago that it would be 2 weeks before the window that was special ordered actually get in, and they scheduled to put it in, but the window was ordered.
Perfect, thank you. Next property. 2336 West Wisconsin.
For 2336 West Wisconsin, I have 0. I don't know if Marquette has anything though.
Yeah, we have 3 loitering, disorderly, and 3 trouble. The subject for 7.
Hi, Tom. Thank you.
Officer Wickers, was those calls initiated by the store themselves?
I'd have to pull them all up, but a lot of them are, and a lot of them involve a particular 1 or 2 individuals that we're working on right now.
Okay.
I have the information, and I was working with Savannah just to double check that the name was correct and all the info. I'm working with my attorney to get restraining orders on that gentleman for sure. The black guy with the gray coat that was out there a lot.
Yep.
So that's the main nuisance guy that we want, because he never, like, I'll pull up, he'll leave. When Savannah and them pull up, he'll leave. But then he don't see my truck or he don't see you guys, and he comes right back. And then his whole excuse to the security is, I'm on the sidewalk. I can be on the sidewalk. Another thing that came up is I got approved, or we got approved for the loading zone. So I have paid the loading zone fee and done all that. Now I sent it. I sent the email to the actual person that gave me the application that approved like the loading zone space from the city. So I reached out back to them today actually and let them know that it's all been paid. Everything's in the system. It was approved by City Hall. Now what's the next step? Do they come out in a week? Because I paid it like 3 weeks ago and I still haven't found anything out. So when they're gonna put the signs up or anything, so we've done that as well.
He's gone.
Yeah, Jose, thank you. I don't know if John would know that. I think that's another department.
Yeah, I sent it to the guy's name. I think was, I'm actually here. Dale Dietz and Kevin Ansack is the people that did like the application with me, because they needed to actually put certain codes for the actual address was not my address. It was actually another street address for those loading zones. So that was all done. I reached back out to them. Now I'm just waiting on their response and to see how long that takes. So that way we can get the taco truck out of there, because it causes me a little bit of problems, because I get cars that are sitting in the parking lot eating and waiting for their food. So then it just causes a big distraction in the parking lot.
Okay.
I've gotten a few text messages from some people, like I forget his name, but he's in the system, and he texts me, hey, there's someone out there. Then I'll get my guys to push them off. And I've told my workers that they need to be on point with people drinking on those barriers that are right in between us. So I'm like, because if they drink in there, don't serve them. I said, just do not serve them.
Yeah, we're working on a plan, just so you know, to install some type of a railing on those railroad ties to prevent people from sitting over there.
Yeah, because sometimes, like I remember last summer, we wouldn't even be serving a guy, and he'd be passed out like high on drugs, just sitting on in the grass, like.
Right.
So that'll help. I think that'll help tremendously.
Yes, it will. We're on it.
Jose, thank you for your involvement and staying on point with helping us with try to help you resolve some of the issues over there. Really appreciate your cooperation.
Thank you. And then the barrier, like I said, this summer and the next month or two, we're getting the whole blacktop redone. And at that point, they'll fix the barrier on the parking lot, because that one still keeps moving. I just think people hit it and it just pushes forward, because it's really not that heavy. I can pick it up with one hand and just pull it over. So I think just people like run into it and then it gets pushed forward, because one of the little ties that are in it is like broken off the ground. So that'll all be fixed hopefully within a month and a half.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, next property. 901 North 27th Street, calls for service.
We have 0 nuisanceable calls for 901 North 27.
DNS?
Nothing from DNS.
So Ken, as you indicated earlier about 27th and Kilbourne and again on Clybourne, those are two of our most troubled areas. And you're right, we're going to have some kind of special meeting to try to address it. But the Lights Camera Action Initiative is going to be a big part of what we do. So when Kelly started to talk about what we plan on doing, I think it'll fit in with whatever extra action we need.
Excellent, excellent. I think we got one more business to do. 949 North 27th Street, calls for service.
We had a total of 1, which was a shot spotter.
DNS has fire inspection orders.
All right, and I think that's it, right?
No, you got the park.
No,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Because we had a meeting with them. So
We're gonna get to the park. Hold
I'm out the loop.
on. We're gonna get to the park. We're gonna talk about a couple of things, but I'd like to have Kelly talk about 27th Street businesses, if you will, please.
So I can quick update. We had the first of our Lights, Camera, and Action initiative business called check-ins yesterday. Unfortunately, we only had one business owner that showed up and came out and sat down with our team. It would have been a great opportunity. We had the whole team there, both community liaison officers, both CPU officers, myself, we had Dwayne, we had Bobby, we had Lindsay, and we also had Antoine Perkins, who is the person who will be installing the cameras in some of the businesses in that area. I know that camera program rolled out a little while ago, and then it all ties into the Lights, Camera, and Action initiative that's getting pushed out. So the goal of the program is to bring together the community basically to address issues of public safety. They're going to encourage residents to install Ring doorbell cameras, businesses to have cameras or to have better cameras if they have ones that aren't working as well now, installing lighting around your property, developing phone trees, and especially with local businesses, keeping in touch with the fellow businesses, checking in with each other about issues they're seeing. So getting to know your community liaison officer is one of the things on there as well. And then connecting with your neighborhood. We hope to have more business meetings in the coming weeks and months to make sure we are doing that, getting people connected to our team, to each other, and then working together to address any issues that the businesses especially are seeing in those areas, to see if we can hopefully either preemptively nip those issues in the bud or come up with a plan to address them as they're coming up.
Yeah, I'd just like to add just a little bit more to what Kelly said. The meeting was a dual virtual and in-person meeting, and it was held at the neighborhood house. The neighborhood house was invited to also participate. However, they were a little busy, but they did stop by toward the end and give us an update on some of the improvements that they're going to make to the park. One of the improvements that they're going to make to hope to try to curve some of the loitering there is to reorientate the main entryway to the rear, more facing the neighborhood house itself in the alley, and also install gates that can be locked at a certain time, and increase the signage as to what can go on and what happens in the park. Hopefully this will kind of slow down, if not stop the loitering, by making it a little bit more harder to access.
How soon is this going to be started implementation?
I got the feeling from Jeff that something should be happening within the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay.
Well, the
Sounds
last time we locked the gates to stop people from entering, they just pulled the fence apart in the back, the pickets in the back alley, and we're crawling in. So the fences, I mean, you can put all the locks you want on the fence, it's only 2 feet high. They're gonna jump it.
Yeah, we got other suggestions that we made. However, these were the 2 or 3 that they were comfortable with making at the time, as well as trying to increase the activation of the park. You know, that's one of the other things that's, I think, is one of the main things, to have people over there doing positive things as far as programming from the neighborhood house itself. But they leave it, you know, they understand that they leave it vacant a little too much.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. A couple other quick notes. I know that in the area here, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, Wisconsin, and Bobby, I think I sent some pictures to you. I got another one for you in regards to graffiti. Is the city just behind on getting some of this stuff removed, or what?
I think Herlin is on the call. Herlin, are you still there? Okay, she may have checked out already. I have to get in contact with Herlin. I think she's better positioned to answer that question with the referrals that's made directly to the city for as graffiti removal.
All right, sounds good. And then for me, last thing I had is the 26th and Kilbourne parking lot between Wendy's and the building on 26th in Wisconsin, the one that used to be used by Penfield and now is a junkyard.
Yeah, that's Mr. Palmer's lot. And I haven't had any updates on it. Dwayne, have you? I do believe, Kelly, at one point, did you mention that you sent someone out there, or someone went out there from DNS or something?
DNS did go out and issue orders.
Okay.
Yeah, just to piggyback on all of that. So he did submit a BOZA application. He didn't quite make the meeting. Likely he'll make it for June's meeting. I did talk to my boss, and it was stressed that if there are any concerns or issues, to please show up to that hearing and voice it there, so that way it can go on record.
Well, just looking at it, it's already obvious what the concerns are. It's a junkyard, and how can that be allowed to happen in a business commercial zone? Right?
So I'm going to jump in, and I think what John is hopefully getting you to say is go there and voice that opinion there, because it sounds like, and I'm not very well versed in that area, but if they're having a hearing, they're going to try and ask to use that space differently than it's been used previously. And the city there is the ones listening, so people can't just voice opinions directly that don't live in the neighborhood, that aren't affected by it. So if you guys are seeing things, and I know people are upset about what's going on there, just making sure your voices are heard and relaying that to the people that will be making the decision is what's really important.
Sure. Thanks, Ken.
I can just add, having worked at BOZA in the past and now being a member of the BOZA board, having letters on record or having people in attendance testifying is incredibly important for the board members. So I did just put in the chat the email address that you can send comments to.
Do we know what the application, John, is for the use of the property?
Yeah, so just to piggyback what Kelly and Lindsay is saying, please show up. Me, in my position, I have to be neutral about everything. So although I understand there's a lot of concerns that you guys are voicing to me, again, I have to maintain neutrality with it. What Mr. Palmer is planning on doing, he wants to do contractor's yard and outdoor storage of heavy motor vehicles, possibly outdoor storage, general outdoor storage facility for items and other materials and tools that may or may not be used.
John, I'm sorry, I may have missed it in the beginning, but is there a date that he has for this hearing? A date and time?
So he did have a compliance due date with my orders that I issued, but again, he already submitted his BOZA application. He very likely will be on June's meeting if he gets everything submitted. Without going into too much detail regarding his file, everything that is communicated between him and our BOZA office, like I said, if everything is up to par, he should be scheduled for June.
Okay, thank you.
Who's going to stay on top of that to verify what that date is? And then also, who's the team that's going to work on making sure that we have letters, emails, and finding out who's going to show up to the BOZA hearing when it comes up in June, like contacting property owners, Wendy's, Penfield, and so on.
I think I'll take that.
Okay.
I spearhead that.
Okay.
I think to address the graffiti, I think Herlin has rejoined us.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Herlin.
Okay.
Would you repeat that area so that you know what we're talking about?
So here, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so, they came through the neighborhood, and I know that on 21st in Wisconsin, the BMO Harris Bank on their northeast corner parking lot entry, there are a couple utility boxes there that have been graffitied. There's also a street light in front of 2324 West Wisconsin that's been graffitied. A few other things have been resolved by Marquette, the old substation, and then a few dumpsters in the area that we've actually painted over the graffiti. I know we reported it. I'm just wondering how long would we expect that to still be there before it gets removed?
Okay, if this was reported, if you actually reported this, anything that's the city property, it usually gets done within 48 to 72 hours. Anything that's private property that you report that is not in the near west side bid, that gets done, an advisory letter has to go out to the owners. So that's 3 days plus 2 days mailing. Then an inspector actually goes out there to see if the graffiti is there, take pictures, and then they write a 1-day order. They go out 1 day plus mailing, that's another 4 days. Then it comes back to me. If it's not done, then I assign it to one of our contractors to have it removed. So if you have the actual address, you're telling me the one on 21st in Wisconsin on BMO Harris Bank had graffiti, or the light pole in front of it?
No. For BMO, there are 2 green large utility boxes that I believe are We Energies on their northeast corner lot coming off of 21st Street. Actually, yeah, right next to 727 North 21st. Those are graffitied on both sides.
So the electrical boxes, the city would just take care of it regardless of who it is, because it's hard to identify them. And if I send We Energies out there, or the phone company, they will send me an email back saying it's not ours. So DPW usually takes care of all of that. So I will send DPW back out there on BMO Harris on 21st Wisconsin, the electrical boxes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have not reported this one at 2324 Wisconsin.
The light pole.
It is on a light pole there in front of the building. Yes.
Okay. They probably won't get to that till next week, because their day ends right about in about 30 minutes. So they usually pick up my things in the morning when I email them. And they have less than half a crew on Friday. So hopefully they'll get to it by Monday, but may surprise you, might be gone by tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Harlan.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other order of business? We're a little 8 minutes over the time limit. Blame that on Bobby.
Okay, Ken, I'll take that one.
Ken,
Yes.
maybe and Miss Katie's in like 20 Wells shop.
Yeah, I can't believe you
stressed out.
after your birthday. Anyway, do we have anything else?
I do not think so. I think the last slide will just inform everyone of course, the contact information for the Near West Side, including ADA Kelly's number. Our CLO officer information should be on there as well.
Okay. And that is not the correct date. Actually, June 10th, I believe, is our next compact meeting.
Oh, he's talking about,
With that said, again, June 10th, not the 17th. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great